President Trump's promise of fire and fury is being ramped up. The commander-in-chief is doubling down on the heated rhetoric toward North Korea.
And the war of words is escalating on both sides tonight. KCAL9 political reporter Bryan joins us now with Kim Jong-un's new response to the president's tough talk, which happened today.
That's right. And the president had quite a bit to say about a number of different angles on this story. The president telling reporters that maybe his fire and fury comments this week about what North Korea might be facing apparently didn't go far enough. And he once again warned North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un that he would regret the outcome if his threats to the U.S. and development of nuclear weapons continue.
I will tell you this, North Korea better get their act together or they're going to be in trouble like few nations ever have been in trouble in this world. Okay?
President Trump sent out another very clear and threatening message to North Korea. Proceed with the taunts and attack planning at your own risk.
Let's see what he does with Guam. He does something in Guam, it will be an event the likes of which nobody's seen before, what will happen in North Korea.
And when you say that, what do you mean?
You'll see, and he'll see. He will see. It's not a dare, it's a statement.
This was President Trump's stern warning earlier this week about a possible U.S. response to continued North Korean saber-rattling and attack threats.
They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen.
It was criticized by some for being too inflammatory, a view that's not shared by the president.
If anything, maybe that statement wasn't tough enough. What they've been doing and what they've been getting away with is a tragedy, and it can't be allowed.
Former Obama administration National Security Advisor Susan Rice says a U.S. military response to a North Korean attack or solid intelligence that such an attack will soon be launched would be perfectly appropriate. But she told CNN what worries her is a possibility of a speculative preemptive strike by U.S. forces.
Preemptive war, if one were actually thinking of executing that, would be catastrophic. Catastrophic for the Korean Peninsula, the over 200,000 Americans that reside there, the 26 million people of metropolitan Seoul, for Japan and the 40,000 American troops stationed there, and for the global economy. We risk a direct confrontation with China, and a conflict could potentially go to the extreme of being nuclear. So a preemptive attack by the United States would be a very, very poor choice, a very dangerous choice.
The president's new round of stern talk came as he met with Vice President Mike Pence and National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster at his golf resort in New Jersey, where he received an intelligence briefing on the latest developments in North Korea. But former CIA Deputy Director Michael Morell, now a CBS senior security contributor, told the Evening News trading insults and incendiary threats with the North Korean leader is a damaging mistake.
I think the president's statements of the last 2 days are reckless, and I think they're reckless for two reasons. One is that Kim Jong-un has been shown to be provocable, and so this playground game of dare, double dare is dangerous. The second reason that is that statements such as this box the president in from a policy perspective. At a time when he should be trying to maximize policy options, he's narrowing them.
The North Korean regime is bristling at Trump's tough talk and threatening to simultaneously send 4 missiles spiraling to the doorstep of Guam, a U.S. territory in the western Pacific Ocean. The North Koreans are already calling Trump names and insulting him at every opportunity, most recently declaring he's bereft of reasoning, apparently getting under his skin.
He has disrespected our country greatly. He has said things that are horrific. And with me, he's not getting away with it. He got away with it for a long time between him and his family. He's not getting away with it. It's a whole new ballgame.
And when asked about whether the administration is pursuing diplomatic efforts to address the issues with North Korea, the president didn't exactly sound enthusiastic.
We'll always consider negotiations, but they've been negotiating now for 25 years. Look at Clinton. He folded on the negotiations. He was weak and ineffective. You look what happened with Bush, you look what happened with Obama.
Now, speaking of negotiations, the Washington Post reporting tonight that the options for President Trump going forward with North Korea appear to fall into 4 categories. Keep the status quo, in other words, do nothing. Hitting North Korea with tougher sanctions, which have already been approved by the U.S. and the United Nations. Push for talks. And the 4th option, a military confrontation, otherwise known as war. Lena, back to you.